The wind screamed across the white plain like it wanted to erase everything that had ever lived there. The rancher reined in hard when he saw her, just a dark figure kneeling in the snow, a shovel too small for the frozen earth, her back bent like it might snap. At her feet lay a tiny mound wrapped in a torn blanket. She was burying her child alone in the snow, and something in that sight made the rancher stop everything, even before he understood why his hands were shaking. Elias Crow had lived on the high plains for most of his 42 years. He knew cold, knew loss, knew the way winter could steal sound and color until the world felt empty enough to swallow a man whole. But this was different. The land around them was miles from the nearest town, and no one came out here in winter unless they had no choice. He dismounted slowly, afraid any sudden movement might break the fragile moment. The woman did not look up. Her dark hair was stiff with frost, her coat threadbare and patched, her hands red and bleeding as she tried to chip at the frozen ground. Each strike of the shovel made a dull, hopeless sound. Elias cleared his throat. "Ma'am," he said gently, though the wind nearly tore the word away. She didn't respond. She just kept digging, her shoulders trembling, not from the cold alone, he realized, but from something deeper, heavier. He stepped closer and saw the child's face for the first time. The little boy could not have been more than 4 years old. His lashes were white with ice, his cheeks still and pale, as if he were only sleeping. Elias felt a sharp pain in his chest, the kind that takes your breath away. "I can help," Elias said. He didn't wait for permission. He took off his gloves, grabbed the shovel, and pressed his boot down with all his weight. The blade barely scratched the ground. The earth was frozen hard as iron. Elias went back to his horse and returned with a heavier spade, the kind he used to break ice near the troughs. He began to dig beside her, each strike ringing through his arms. The woman finally looked up then, her eyes dark, hollow, and burning with something between gratitude and disbelief. "You don't have to," she said. Her voice was rough, as if it had been scraped raw by grief. "No one ever does." "I know," Elias replied, breathing hard. "That's why I'm staying." They worked in silence for a while, the sound of metal on frozen earth and the howl of the wind filling the space between them. Elias could feel the cold biting through his coat, but he welcomed it. It felt right to share even a fraction of what this woman had endured. When the hole was finally deep enough, she knelt again, smoothing the snow from the small bundle, whispering words Elias could not hear, demonstrated by the way her hands shook, not with weakness, but with restraint, as if she were holding herself together by sheer will. She told him her name was Anika. She had been traveling with her son, Tomas, trying to reach her sister in a town 2 days' walk away. Her husband had died the previous winter. The work dried up. The landlord took the house. By the time she realized the storm was coming, it was already too late. Tomas grew sick on the road. Fever took him fast. She held him through the night, praying the cold would spare him, but winter does not listen to prayers. "I promised him he wouldn't be alone," she said as they lowered the small body into the ground together. "I couldn't let him go without keeping that promise." Elias swallowed hard. He thought of the son he had lost 15 years ago, taken by illness before he had learned to read. He had buried that grief deep, thinking time had sealed it away. But standing there, knee-deep in snow, it all came rushing back, raw and sharp as the winter air. He realized grief didn't disappear. It just waited for a moment like this to be remembered. When the grave was filled and marked with a simple wooden cross Elias carved from a fallen branch, Anika sat back on her heels, exhausted. Her lips were blue, her hands barely moving. Elias knew she wouldn't survive the night out here. He offered her his coat, then his arm. "My ranch is a few miles west," he said. "There's heat, food. You can rest. Tomorrow, we'll figure out what comes next." She hesitated, eyes flicking back to the grave. "I don't want to leave him." "You won't," Elias said softly. "I'll bring you back whenever you need. I promise." The ranch was modest, but warm. Elias stoked the fire while Anika sat wrapped in blankets, staring into the flames like she was afraid to blink. He cooked what he had, beans, bread, coffee, and placed it before her. She ate slowly, mechanically, as if nourishment were something she had forgotten how to accept. That night, Elias slept little. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the small mound in the snow and felt the weight of the shovel in his hands. In the days that followed, Anika stayed. She helped with small tasks when she could, feeding the chickens, mending clothes, sitting quietly when the grief explainably overwhelmed her. Elias never rushed her. He understood that healing could not be forced. He had learned that the hard way. Sometimes they talked. Sometimes they sat in silence, the kind that didn't demand words. When the storms eased, Elias took her back to the grave. They brought flowers, dried ones, but flowers all the same, and placed them carefully on the snow. Anika knelt again, but this time she did not look as broken. Something had shifted. Not healed, not whole, but steadied. She thanked Elias, tears freezing on her cheeks. "I don't know why you helped me," she said. "Most people look away." Elias considered the question. "Because once, a long time ago, I needed someone to stop too," he said. "And no one did. I don't want the world to be that empty again." Spring came slowly, as it always did on the high plains. The snow retreated inch by inch, revealing brown earth beneath. With it came change. Anika decided to stay, at least for a while. She helped Elias expand the garden, plant new crops, repair fences broken by winter storms. They worked side by side, learning each other's rhythms. Grief did not vanish, but it softened, making room for something else: purpose, connection, the quiet strength that grows when two broken people choose not to turn away from each other. One evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the sky in gold and fire, Elias watched Anika standing in the field, the wind lifting her hair. She looked tired, but no longer lost. He realized that stopping that day in the snow had changed both of their lives. He had not just helped her bury her child. He had helped her survive. And in doing so, he had found a piece of himself he thought was gone forever. The world is often cruel, especially when no one is watching. But sometimes, one person chooses to stop. To kneel in the cold. To dig beside a stranger and share the weight of grief. And in that small, defiant act of kindness, something powerful is born. Proof that even in the harshest winter, humanity can still take root and grow.